everyone. My name is Nalini Saxena. I'm the founder of Elicit Consulting, and I welcome you to episode 2 of Elicit Your Possibilities. I'm joined here by someone very special, Nancy Rhodes, whom you might know as the founder of the NYC Face Mask Initiative, which is taking New York by storm in the PPE world in a very fantastic way. But she's also the founder of Alternew. And I'm going to turn it over to Nancy to introduce herself.
Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction, Nalini. And I'm also very lucky to be a client of Elicit Consulting. They are helping me with my financial model and executive coaching. I am the founder of Alternew. I am currently a shoe designer by day and launching Alternew at night, which was postponed, which I will get into, as well as finishing up my master's at Glasgow Caledonian University, and was put in a position to launch the New York City Face Mask Initiative through a series of happy coincidences. And that's why we are where we are today.
Fantastic. And so our audience would love to hear a little bit of the background of how we got here.
And so I thought, okay, here's a place where I can make an impact, not only for a problem I'm having, but I hope that others are. And so I created a survey. I talked with industry experts in the fashion industry and realized it was something where we talked about sustainability a lot. We talked about fashion all the time. And we never talked about the simple act of doing alterations to extend the life of clothing or to increase self-esteem through fit and customization. So there was an opportunity. Fast forward, I am still working full time, but had realized I needed to get some traction under my belt so I could start looking into angel investors and opportunities to build the tech side. And so I was set to launch March 13th. We all know what happened. So on March 10th, I had to email out and postpone the party. So the goal for the event, which I was so proud of, was about kind of alterations as part of your lifestyle, not as a tedious errand. We're here to alter your clothes, not your schedule. And so we had 100 to 150 people coming to an event. We were partnering with the bloggers. I did not get to launch, obviously. And 7 days later, I turned in my master's thesis. And about 20 minutes after I turned it in, the same friend who had kind of mused my idea for Alternew in the first place texted me and asked me if I had considered engaging my tailors that had been hired for Alternew to create masks for frontline providers. And I'm a doer. So I think that's something a lot of entrepreneurs have in common is once an idea gets in your head, you are propelled forward with this, I call it the invisible pitchfork behind me, pushing me to get things done. And so I randomly had a phone call in place that same day to talk to a master tailor who would be helping not only with product and for Alternew or services for Alternew, but also with curriculum for tailors, with the opportunity to be able to be promoted within the Alternew umbrella. And I called her and I said, before we talk anything else, I was wondering, have you thought about making masks for frontline providers? And she's like, you read my mind. I was totally thinking about that. So we used her know-how in sewing and my experience with entrepreneurship and being able to kind of connect with people, which I think is such an important aspect to the success of any company. And we put out a call to action. It started with a Google Doc, worked its way into a type form, used all these different kind of data analytics and management systems to be able to get, at first we had 46 tailors and home sewers. We recruited home sewers as well. We started through the Fair Trade Coalition. And if you want more information about that, I'm happy to share. And worked out from there. I connected with people through LinkedIn, through Facebook, through Instagram, any social media channel. I emailed people, and today we have 360 volunteers. We have drivers, and we have 15,000 of our $25,000 goal on GoFundMe. We've been able to get materials out to sewers who are making masks that then go directly to hospitals and facilities in need. We were actually able to partner and aggregate mask needs lists with Masks for Docs. NYC Makes PPE has been a really close organization we've worked with, and Engines for Change, which is like kind of a motorcycle gang that goes around and picks up masks and takes them to the hospital, which is incredible. And we have distributed 18,000 masks so far. So
amazing.
You know, it's really incredible. It's felt so inspiring, and what's been really great for us is that there are so many people out there who wanted to help but didn't know how. And something as simple as getting materials to them allowed them, and especially if they had a sewing machine, if they had thread, but they just didn't know, what materials to get. So we got the correct materials. We did a bunch of research. We found that 100% cotton and braided elastic were good. We were not able to do latex free, but a lot of people who are allergic to latex don't use the elastic masks anyway, so that's good. There's also tie masks, but at the time we started, we understood that sometimes the goal of getting a fabric mask over an N95, which was our first goal, needed to be done in a very quick way, because it could be the difference between someone dying from a code and not, which was extremely daunting to think about. We actually, one of our designers is a handbag designer, also then moved into dentistry, and her husband is a physician on the front lines. So he and she have been extraordinarily helpful in making sure we're getting the right product made for the end user. We've now grown. The needs are less at hospitals. They're not gone, but they're less. So we've now moved into essential workers and low income, high risk, and marginalized communities that aren't getting it in other ways. We've actually just recently even been asked to help an organization who works with incarcerated women. And it's not just that group we're helping, it's the people who work there. It's the people who work there and go home to their families and are out risking their lives so that we can stay healthy.
Love it. Thank you for taking us from age 3 all the way to where we are today in the present moment, and all these amazing successes that you've had. I'm so impressed, and I've always been here to cheer you on because I'm so excited by all of this. So what I want to highlight is, it seems like there were two stages where there were potential forks in the road. Mm-hmm. One where you have started working in design, you're working for some great names and great labels, and yet you're experiencing this sense of, well, I'm also doing this master's in sustainability, and that's raising my awareness of sustainability, excuse me. And then you had this TaskRabbit come over who pulls something out of your closet, and you have this aha moment, maybe not in that exact moment, but soon thereafter, of, you know what, there's something for me beyond this 9-to-5 job that I have, where I can put some of my values and put some of my impact, my passion into purpose. Mm-hmm. And there's something that I can do here. And your market research that you described, that, nothing has happened in this space in the way that you had envisioned it. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's an interesting space of possibility. You created a
Yes.
possibility for yourself. And then the second is, you know, when we met, you were lining everything up for March 13th. That all your actions, all your movements were gearing up towards your amazing launch party, your launch event. And yet thereafter, after we met, and leading up into the final days before it, you realize, darn, I'm not going to be able to launch, right? And that could overwhelm a lot of people. That could overwhelm people. That could have them be the ostrich who sticks its head in the sand and not want to come out because the world is not the same anymore. And the beautiful entrepreneurial journey that you had just started seemed to have potentially been thwarted. But what I love is, you know, your response to it was, okay, my muse has given me this idea. I'm a doer, so let me just roll up my sleeves and let me lean into action. And we were texting in those early days, and you were saying like, this is what I think I'm going to do. And I was so excited by that energy. And what I want to applaud you for is using the power of network and using the power of relationship management, your charisma, and then also getting people interested, not only the volunteers who've actually been stitching, driving, donating, researching, all that stuff, but also the people who wanted to champion you. And you have many of those.
And I will say something you advised me on that I've shared with many is collaboration, not competition. Understanding that our competition was only our closest collaborators, we have been able to do so much more than we ever would have been able to. And the other thing that you mentioned, and we don't know how to describe necessarily, is mission. So I have done a few different panels and talks about the 5 buckets we need to get results quickly.
Right.
And number 1 bucket I've created is mission. A lot of people have talked about pivoting. I don't necessarily believe there really is such thing as pivoting so much as adjacencies, extensions, opportunity. And if you have a mission that's truly strong and baked into what your business is, you can succeed. So for me, that's inspiring and creating community. So that is our mission for Alternew. That did not change at all. And so being able to connect and create community actually became that much more important because everyone felt like this lonely island. And by we are doing weekly Zoom calls with all of our sewers who it's a space for them to not only ask questions, but just share stories and be part of something bigger than themselves. And also sharing like our milestones and making them understand that whether they've made 1 mask or 500, which both have happened, that they are truly contributing a significant amount to our end goal. And that's been, I think, the most inspiring. And I think networking we've created such an exploitative understanding of what networking is. Networking isn't about what you're going to get tomorrow or what you're going to get in 10 days or 2 months. When you go and network, you're building relationships. When you meet your best friend, you don't like sit down with them and be like, I see what's going to happen here. We're going to be best friends forever. Mind you, I've done that and it's happened. I'm pretty good at that. But having said that, there's something to be said for meeting someone and seeing a twinkle of connection and being like, I don't know how we're going to connect, and it might not be till 10 years from now, but we're going to, and it's going to be something, and that's great. And maintaining those relationships, and even if it's just like we've talked about it now, I think it's so funny because this pandemic hasn't really changed what is out there, but it's just kind of taken off the veil of us actually realizing that we need to check in with our friends and connect with them and see how they're doing every once in a while. And we need to understand that we are all puzzle pieces of this large puzzle, no matter how little or how much we're doing. The puzzle can't be solved without each and every one of us. So if that's as simple as I need to stay home because I'm immunocompromised and need to make sure that others who need to go out are not getting me sick. Or if that's as much as for me, like being able to create this initiative gave me so much joy and passion to keep proceeding, and being allowed to flex my leadership muscles in such a values-based and mission-driven way has been like a career high for me throughout I would say right now I'm more driven than I've ever before been driven.
And that I had a twinkle when I saw you. I saw a little sparkle in you, as I'm sure everyone does when they meet you, Nancy Rhodes. But it is that desire that you had to make an impact that really struck me, and that is what I do when I select people that I'm going to really work with. I want to see that fire, and I want to see that let me connect passion, and then let me connect purpose. And you, in your words, it's impact, and it's all one and the same thing. And I've been really happy to see where you have gone. I love when I look at my LinkedIn feed and I see you've been featured in another blog, another podcast. you're speaking on a panel. I love all of this, and I want to wish you tons of success with all of that. So Nancy, I actually remember talking to you about collaboration, not competition. In fact, the very first evening that we met, I was eager to introduce you to some people who also worked at the co-working space where I worked out of, and I wanted to give you a heads up. Yes, these people work in your space, but please don't see them as competitors. See them as collaborators. Mm-hmm. And I think that hit home with you because you stand for community, authentic connection, and really finding ways to meet people where they are and see what might transpire down the road. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit more about collaboration, not competition, and how that has informed your journey.
Yeah. So as you said, my mission is to inspire and create community. So when you had said collaboration, not competition, I also remember that evening, Elicit was having a holiday party, and a friend of mine had found it through her networking organization and asked me if I wanted to join. When I met Nalini, she was telling a funny story about her trainer who had she had texted earlier that day and said, "You're making my muscles too big. My dress ripped when I put it over my arm." And I was like laughing about it, and I was like, "But it's so funny. I am launching a company that could help with that, and on demand." And she's like, "I actually have some friends here who are doing a very similar business," which, again, it's not surprising to me. It's a really big white space in the market, and there are some competitors now that are starting to succeed. And I think it's really important to have differentiators, but also to understand that it is about community, and community doesn't just extend to your own community, it extends to the communities of your competitors, and collaborating with them and understanding how you can share best practices and how you can help each other succeed. Because I think what resonated most with me is understanding that there's room for everyone at the table. And if we're willing to share, there's actually an opportunity for us all to succeed more effectively, rather than us all not sharing and all kind of failing. So that was a really great evening for me, and connecting with you and having you connect me with the other group. And yeah, so it's been a meaningful idea that has resonated with me, and I've used in other conversations for sure.
I love that. And when you say share, right? Share is not always about sharing resources. It doesn't always have to be that. It could be as simple as sharing a story. I remember I was wearing a sleeveless dress, which wasn't meant to be sleeveless, because my muscle had gotten too big. And it was that little snippet of sharing that story with you that then, gave you that forum to be able to share with me what exactly you were up to. We wouldn't have had that
Absolutely.
connection had that not happened. So and I love that is something that you bring everywhere that you go, with everyone that I've introduced you to, and everyone that I have somehow found that knows you through some other means, and we're somehow second or third degree connections to everybody in New York. Um, but
Well, I
that
always laugh because I always say like I embrace the awkward. I have I've been as weird as I am today as I was when I was 3 years old, and it's not that I've changed that much. It's that the acceptance of weird and awkward, that's the cool and that's the normal of today. Like we want to be different, and the stories that we share that might not seem like they are relevant to the conversation actually end up being the most relevant and driving the deepest connections.
Right. And it's with that spirit that we connect, we introduce people to one another, and that's the spirit of this whole series that we're doing. So
I love it.
great. Nancy, if you could share, what's one aha that you've had in our work together on your financial strategy and your financial development?
Great question. I actually have a very concise answer for that, and that is I never realized how interconnected my personal finances and my business finances were. And when we started working together to build my financial model, the first thing that you wanted from me were my personal finances and creating a budget and accountability form for that. And I was a little confused at first, like, oh, but we're doing my financial model. Mind you, I'm happy to do both. And you kind of gave me the aha moment that they are so interconnected, and that you can't really, especially as a bootstrapped business, have a financial model without understanding your personal finances.
Indeed. Tell us a little bit about alternew and where it stands now and what might be next for it.
Sure. So I haven't really shared that much about what alternew is. So alternew is on-demand alterations and repairs. Um, we are here to alter your clothes, not your schedule. We have found that clothes are mass produced, bodies are not. And so just by getting the proper fit and customizing your clothing, we can improve body positivity and inclusivity. Um, there are kind of 4 buckets right now that we're putting our clothes into. We have the keep pile, that's a great pile. The donate pile, the stuff that we're just like ready to get rid of. There's the alterations pile, and then there's the nostalgia pile, which is my favorite pile. So we own 2 of those buckets. The alterations and repairs, we hope to in the next month or 2 be able to start doing some contactless pickups of repairs only. We still believe that alterations need to be done on the body, but some of those repairs, I know you had a winter coat that you needed repaired, that could be picked up outside of your home, repaired and brought back to you just in time for you to store it for summer, so that when you put it on next summer or next winter, it will be all ready for you. The
Perfect.
nostalgia pile is a fun pile for me. I'm a my love language. I don't know if anybody knows about love languages. My love language is gifts. So I've always been about tangible items. It's not a materialistic thing. It's more of like a visual representation. So people who send me cards, I have cards like, pinned up on my wall, things that I can like see and feel. So with the nostalgia pile, it's something as simple as an old college sweatshirt that you know you're never going to wear again, but you can turn it into an outfit for your dog. Or it's your prom dress that you never want to donate. It's something that means so much to you, but maybe it's in a cool print that you can actually put over a canvas and have on your wall to be a new kind of artwork. So I've always framed scarves in my past, and I love doing that. And I've taken some of my novelty tees that I had and framed those that were really fun little pieces on my wall. It's also as simple as, okay, I have this old blazer that's a duster that goes to my knees, and I really don't think that trend is something I want to use anymore. So instead of donating this, I'm going to have someone hem it up so it's actually a regular blazer, or I'm going to take the sleeves off so it's a vest, or I'm going to change out the buttons. So right now they're black buttons on a black blazer. I'm going to put neon yellow buttons on there. And that way I've done something where instead of going to Zara and picking up something for, $50, I've spent 10 or 20 to refresh and, renew a wardrobe that I already have and I already have a relationship with. So we want to make people the makers of their own wardrobe.
And so what's next for alternew? So maybe you can start with some of the stuff that we're going to be doing as we pick things up, but then also what will happen thereafter, because that's exciting.
So a couple of things. So with the New York City Face Mask Initiative, we don't want that to go away. We think that the nonprofit arm of a company is such a value, and we want to give our tailors the opportunity to volunteer where they can or where they want to, or to create like a review stream through that. So if they're also volunteering, they maybe get like a higher algorithm to be able to help more people. So that's one kind of stream we're going with. We've also connected with some stylists who are doing virtual styling. So as they start working with their members and being able to help them with their wardrobe, they can then contactless pick up through that. And then as well as organizations that are starting to open up and potentially like co-working spaces and gyms. And if that happens, we want to be able to go in there and, make sure our tailors have the proper equipment, gloves and masks, and, making sure that they are taking temperature checks for themselves, not only like physically temperature checking, but also mentally, like, okay, have I been out in the last 4 weeks? Have I been somewhere where I think I could probably contaminate someone or pass something on? So our hope is to be able to kind of start in the next month or two. Our number one goal is to bring back our pilot program, which we were going to be working with about 15 people to kind of check on like what's the best pricing structure, what's the best way to pick up and drop off, and the best customer service, because to us that's number one. So we still want to do that, and then be able to help people in contactless ways through repairs. I think that would be our number one way to most easily help people.
So Nancy, now that we've heard all about these very exciting things that you're doing, can you tell our audience specifically how can we get involved to support you?
Sure. Thank you for asking. So first of all, our GoFundMe. I believe Nalini will have that.
Next slide.
Perfect. As well as our website, www.alternew.com, ALTERNEW. And definitely if you're interested in sewing or driving or donating, please reach out. You can reach out to me directly or apply through the website.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. We look forward to supporting you, and we hope that you get a lot of mobilization onto your journey. Thank you so much for being with us, Nancy.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure you will continue to elicit your possibilities.
Every day.
Okay, thank you.